Hi there, my name is Sky and I'd love to be your new favorite art teacher. This week, paint along with me to create a fun and simple spooky spider, just in time for Halloween. Thanks for being here. Let's jump in. Hello again, beautiful artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Sky. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sky and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials here on YouTube twice a month on the second and fourth Saturdays. I'm going to take you through this fun and spooky spiderweb painting every step of the way. First, let's go through our materials. I'm going to use my 3 standard brushes. I use these 3 sizes in the majority of my classes. Your brushes don't need to be the exact same size and shape and brand, but they should be something around the same size and shape and made for a water medium. This is a size 16, it's about a 3/4 inch square wash brush. And then I have 2 pointed brushes in the sizes that I like to use. So this is a pointed size 8 brush, and then a small little detail brush size 4. Going to get those brushes in my water cup off the side of the screen. The colors that I have for today's tutorial, just to get started with, we're just going to use some black and white and a little bit of violet, aka purple. To see a full materials list of everything that you need to paint along, check the description box below. It'll show you the colors for today's tutorial, but it will also have a link to my materials page on my website, which is skypratt.com, SKYEPRATT.com. You can click on the materials page and it'll break it down for you, everything that you need to paint along. Okay, let's jump in to the background step. I'm going to grab my square brush, my large square brush, and we are going to mix up a light purple to start. Now this is sort of a balance because you want sort of like a mid-range purple, so not too dark, not too light, because we need to be able to see the contrast later of both the white for the web and the black for the spider. So it's kind of a balance of not going too dark or too light. In my practice painting, I went a little too dark because I was trying to keep things spooky, but you can't really see my spider that well. So I wanted to make sure to go a little bit lighter this time with my background purple. Okay, and I'm going to start in the center, moving my brush all around, have a nice big sort of oval shape of purple in the middle. I'm going for a little bit of texture in the brush strokes. Okay, and then a little bit of black. A little bit of black goes a long way in this pretty purple. This purple is already pretty dark. And again, we don't want to go too dark or too light. But I do want to add a pinch of black so that it is a little spooky, a little Halloween. Okay, and I'm going to bring that purple out into the outside edge. Again, a little bit of purple, a little bit of black, but not too much. A little bit of white too will help not get too dark. Just a nice tone. That's what it's called when you add gray to a color. That's toning it down. If you'd like to learn more about technical painting terms like tints, tones, shades, and also if you need a refresher on color theory and how to blend color, I will mention that I do have a color theory course. It's available here on YouTube for my supporters on the membership program. It's a good refresher, or sometimes some of my students have never had color theory, so sometimes it can be a little hard to jump right in although you can learn by doing too, with me here with the tutorials. But it's also really helpful to have that foundational knowledge. So check that out if you're interested, and thank you for my members. There's another few perks that come with membership, and it also just helps support the channel if you appreciate the tutorials. Okay, we're getting pretty close to finished with our background layer. That looks pretty good. I think I do still want like a pinch of spookiness, but without too much darkness. So let's take just a little bit more of a darker purpley black. I'm going to just have a few brush strokes in the corners and along the edges to sort of frame the scene and then also add spookiness. Okay, once your background looks sufficiently blended and you've gotten it soaked into the canvas texture, nice first layer of paint on our canvas, we're going to step away and let this first layer dry completely. And then we will be back for our curlicue branches and of course our spiderweb and cutie little spider. All right, I'll see everyone in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a dry background and the same colors in my palette paper, since I'm gonna use this black and white still. Probably won't use any more purple, but figured I'd save a piece of palette paper and a bit of time. And then I have a little bit of green. This is my phthalo green that I like to use, and just a pinch of cadmium yellow that we'll use with our green. I really wanted like a super Halloween-y contrast of the like classic green and classic purple, which I feel like are sort of classic Halloween colors. So our phthalo green has a little bit of blue in it, so put a little bit of yellow so that when we get to that part, it will sort of cancel out the blue, get more of a true green. So let's jump right back on into things. We're going to frame out the branches first, and we're going to leave this main space here in the center open because that is of course going to be where we will add our spider web. So let's do the branches with our medium-sized brush to start for the big ones. And I'm going to start with the one up top, and I'm going to sort of wiggle my way across the canvas, and I'm going to end in a little spiral. I'm going to add a few spirals. I like to kind of go from the curved parts, and I'm just sort of blocking things out right now. Then I can go back and thicken things up a bit and also create some thinner spirals. So just in the top, and then that little curve is going to kind of hold a portion of the web. And then I want to come along the bottom in a similar way. I think actually I'll just take that off the edge. Okay, once you have your main shapes blocked out, I find that that works better than sort of perfecting as you go, to come back and thicken things up a little bit. And I think I'll probably also switch to my smaller brush for some of this. Sometimes I feel like I get a more graceful brush stroke with a larger brush. But let me grab my tiny one. Oh, got a little drip, but that's not an emergency. Just let it dry on there. And a little brush gives you a bit more control, which can be helpful too for beginners. Okay, how about a little tiny curlicue? So cute. Of course, I'm adding the curlicues to up the spookiness. Your main center branch will of course be the thickest, and then you'll have little spirals that are thinner. Doesn't have to be perfect. There's always sort of a whimsical element with the majority of my paintings. So in this case, a little bit of wonkiness could add to the spookiness. And let's not forget the bottom branch. It needs some spirals as well. Maybe some that are visible and some that just kind of go off the side of the page. Okie dokie. That looks pretty good for our branches. Okay, let's let that black dry a little bit. We are going to add some fun green highlights there in a bit. Let me just make sure things are nice and tidy. But we are ready to switch over to the web. Very simple, just like we used only black. Now we're going to go the opposite direction and use only white. So again, same tiny brush, I cleaned it. And I am going to start by sort of framing the web. I'm going to start with that top line right there. And then let's see, let's attach it down here. And then we'll do a long one, attaching all the way over here. You gotta think like a spider and build your little web. And then this one it's gonna have like an extra support. So it's going to be sort of a V. Okay, so you're a little spider and you're building your web, and you have to attach the web first with a foundation to the tree branches. Very light-handed. I could have probably even used a smaller brush for this. So I'm like just barely touching my brush. If things get a little messy, you can always take some purple and tidy things up again. And then right in the center of that, I'm gonna do a little tiny dot just to orient myself. And then I'm going to start coming out to meet the different sections of the web. Okay, and we don't have to go out from every single portion because there's sort of like this support only few lines that will be in the spider web. So not every line needs to come from the center out. There's just some that are just like holding the thing up. Spiders are pretty cool. They are scary. I am afraid of spiders, but I respect them too. They're really cool. They can do their spidery business away from me. But gotta respect the hustle. They are very industrious. Okay, great. And then we have things set up pretty well. So this actually, I'm going to take my own advice and tidy things up a little bit because I do want to have a tidy web. So I got a little bit heavy-handed in this part. So I'm going to do a quick little mend like a spider would. And that's kind of handy to have my purple still here on my palette. But let me just tidy that up a little bit real quick. This one just wasn't quite lined up how I wanted. Just throw on my whole web. Okay. It's a nice lesson too that You can always sort of mend things by just retouching up the background. Try to actually create it straight this time. Okay. All right, and now we will have, of course, the part that really pulls it all together, which is these little portions of the web that you're going to start in the center, and you're going to, just like a little spider, work your way from the center out. Notice how these are not straight brush strokes, they are a little bit curved. And again, we have the lightest pressure ever. We're just going to work our way out to the outside edge. When I first started painting and I was 5 years old, I remember the teacher told the students to pretend like you're painting on the back of a bug and you don't want to crush the bug. So this is one of those times, no bug crushing, everyone. You kind of need to come out a little bit for each row. Very light pressure. We're not going to go all the way out to the edge. I will show you once we get there, but just keep that in mind. Getting very spiderwebby. Things will be a little bit more spacious once you work your way further out. A little bit more of a gap in the web sections. Okay, let me just finish one little side first now rather than going round and round, because I want to sort of have some like inconsistencies. Like, because we're not building on a perfect square, or I'm not sure what shape we would need for a perfect web, because a circle, many sections. We want to sort of create these little supports for what were these sort of stabilizing portions. So things will get a little bit more wonky, which is what we want. And in fact, we can even do another little kind of wonky supports and sort of mess up the shape a little bit. Hard to explain, but hopefully you see what I'm saying. But it doesn't need to be perfect. That's what's so fun about spider webs, and that's why I wanted to do a class with them, because they turn out pretty cute even if you kind of mess it up. And you didn't, no such thing as messing up really either. Pretend it was artistic choice. A little bit of additional support lines here and there, right where they've attached double support. Okay. I think that's a pretty good looking web. Let's do one more line up here. Couple gaps that I want to fill out, but that looks pretty cute. Okay, let's let our web dry now while we go back into the tree and add our final touch there, which will be some green highlights. Okay, one quick little extra line. I kind of want to attach it to up here too. Have just a little bit more of a curved shape there, but that looks good to me. Okay, and then jumping back into my branch, I'm going to take my black first and tidy up any parts where my web is touching and it kind of sloppily went into my black a little bit. So you may or may not need to redo the black, but I do. Since it's a pretty simple painting today, we'll be pretty tidy. Might as well take a second pass, tidy things up a bit. Okay, it's all about the details. A painting is the sum of its parts. It's about all those little things adding up. Okay, let's add some gorgeous green highlights. Like this step, I think it really is just what the painting needs. If you want to stick with purple, that's fine. I love a good monochrome painting too, but I think this makes it extra Halloween. Okay, nice bright green like we talked about earlier. We'll just take that and sort of gracefully as possible take it through the black and look at how spooky it has become with our color combo. Very pretty. Okay, you could add even a little bit of a lighter highlight too. In fact, I want nice contrast. Go back and thicken things up. I'm always sort of being light-handed, adding a little less than I think I'll need. That way I can sort of build things up a bit. Not about getting things perfect on your first pass of paint. Much cuter than just black, if you ask me. A little bit of green. So cute. Okay, looking adorable. Nice and tidy, simple painting today. Seeing a few little brush strokes I need to add still in my center, but I think we are ready to add our cute piece de la resistance, which is of course the spider. You can place the spider wherever you want. Right as I said spider, I had a tag on my apron touch my other hand and I got like scared for a second. It's okay, there's no real spiders, guy. Okay. I'm going to do a larger oval, really simple, just a cute little cartoon spider, and then another smaller oval. Okay, and then of course the legs. So I like to have, you can have two facing backwards. And then two facing forward. It's a little tricky, not a normal shape for us bipedal creatures. 8 legs, of course. I think he's a little chunky, but oh well. Or she, excuse me. We'll name her Charlotte. Okay, and then just to kind of make her pop up and be a little scarier, I'm going to do a quick highlight on the body and head, just for a little bit of a 3D element, but we're going to keep it simple and whimsical today and call it good. Let me know what you thought of today's painting in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. If you painted along with me today, I have a Facebook group called the Art Club where my students can share their work with me or with other students. I would love to see what you've painted. You can post your own art too, just from your own studios and imaginations. I love to see what everyone has going on. Shout out to all my Art Club members. There's a link in the comment section and in the description box to join the art club, to check out the membership program, and of course to get the materials. Hopefully you guys found that easily. And that is all the instruction that I have for us this week. So thank you so much for painting along with me. Happy almost Halloween. And until next time, stay creative.